get started. So first of all, I really want to thank the Chamber for allowing us to put together this event for everyone and do the 5 Tips webinar series. So my name's John Lund. I've owned businesses in town for a long time in the greater Omaha area. And one of the things I do now is help companies hire new salespeople. And one of the things I like to do is, we always call it giving deposits, but sharing great take-home value for people in webinar. I've been highly involved, not only in business in the community, but also in the entrepreneurs organization. And I've been lucky enough to see a lot of great people speak and share. And I think it's one of the best ways we learn and grow communities is through sharing best practices, best ideas. So we're going to get started here on the day. We'll get the agenda going. First of all, just again, I did my introduction, but I'd love it if you could, if you have a chat function, if you could chat in your role, that'd be great. Not necessarily your name, but what your role is. Are you owner? Are you a salesperson? Are you just a leader on a team? What you are, it'd be nice to know who I'm talking to in the chat. So if you could do that. The agenda today is what winning looks like for you, how to identify talent, how to interview, an interview strategy, key questions for salespeople, and then onboarding for success. We'll open it up for Q&A and then do tips, tricks, and some takeaways. So you walk out of here with something you can use today is my goal. Please mute technology so we're not hearing other people. That'd be great. Use chat for questions. I think you can also raise your hand on the webinar in case something comes up. But there's not that many of us. If somebody has a question, we can deal with it. There's not 100 people on here. I will have my contact at the end, so you can email me and I can send you anything from this presentation that you want a copy of any of our PDFs and other stuff, and then just enjoy it. Could you place in chat? Is chat work? There's no chat? Okay, that's a problem. Hang on, let me see if I can turn on chat, because there's not, we have a problem. Interesting. Sorry, I did have chat off for some reason. No chat. Does anyone want to comment on what their expectations are for this thing? And we can use voice. You can turn off your microphone. What you'd like to, when it comes to hiring new salespeople, what your struggles or anything be, so I can answer. We'll go on the fly there. Anyone have any quick questions on that?
The big item for me is, as I contemplate hiring another advisor, is to find someone who is culturally a fit for me and also my clients, because that individual eventually is likely going to buy me out when I decide to retire in my mid-80s.
Okay, great. I think we have some stuff on that already in the deck. Anyone else have a question that I make sure we take care of so I can get the expectations? If not, we'll move forward, but you can ask a question anytime during this. There's, again, not many of us, so it makes it easy.
John, Matt Ricchini with State Farm. Hey, my only expectation is trying to find out what's current as places that are used for sourcing talent.
Good.
Thanks.
No problem. So I'll share some best practices on both those issues. I'll again answer your questions and enjoy this day. So first of all, what winning looks like before you place ad for hire. So thinking of both of your situations, both sourcing talent and, especially somebody that's going to come in and take over your clients. I mean, that's a real sensitive one there, Bill. We want to have, there's a thing, job description, which makes sense, right? We want to make sure there's a detailed job description from who's going to be their manager to, is there any requirements on there, from traveling to, depending on the industry, being able to lift something in sales can be important. And then who are they going to be calling specifically? Who are they going to be talking to? What kind of role in a business. If you're selling into facilities managers, that's who they need to be selling into. What's that role? If they're selling into clients as an advisory, what exactly are those roles specifically that they need to be comfortable with? So take the time to put together those types of roles. So when you show them the job description, what is it going to look like? So they say I'm selling into guys in automobile facilities, at repair shops. Some people will naturally say I'm very comfortable selling into that role. Other people will say I've never had any experience in that role. So just understanding exactly who they're selling into. In your situation, Bill, you could easily be, you sell into a leader, but you have to be good at also selling into the whole family to get them to believe in the whole process, because it's important to have an advisory role. You have multiple people that they have to be comfortable with. So what kind of job description? Be very specific of who they're selling into, what role, as detailed as possible. The other one, though, is the employee description. So are they a hunter? So truly, I've been blessed to have a couple people that are very much true hunters, which means they are only going to go find, we'd call it new logos or new clients. But once they have them on board, they don't want to talk to them again because they want to go out and hunt again. They want to get that transferred over to account management. You have the people in between that are the hybrid that want to hunt but hold on to. So they're going to hunt and build a book of business and hold on. I'm guessing in both advisory and in State Farm, that's very much, you guys got to build a book of business, hold on to them and grow them and nurture them. To straight farmer, where you might hire somebody, you have several hundreds of clients. We used to call it a go green report. We had 6 product lines we could sell clients. We'd have farmers whose job it is, if we had a client that only had 2 of our services, we'd want them to go green by getting them to buy service number 3, service number 4, service number 5. Totally different people and totally different comp structures. The hunter to the farmer is not the same person whatsoever. Obviously, the hybrid, something in between. Some examples on comp structures. I have a gentleman that runs a MSP, so a managed service provider. Their average client would stay with them for 7 years. He would give his hunter 1 year of revenue to go land a client all at once, pure hunter. And then within 90 days, you transfer them over. Other ones, my business, I was a mobile phone accessory distribution company. We needed a hybrid. We needed somebody that could hunt some new logos every year, but we always needed them to be growing and maintaining their team. So we had them in between. And then for all of our smaller clients, we had a farmer where it was 80% base pay with 20% upside by growing existing clients. So understanding those 2 things, you can picture them in your mind, what you're going to be, what's the job description, and then on the hunter through farmer spectrum, where is this role going to play? Because it'll make a big difference on how you interview and a big difference on your comp structure. I don't know if there's any questions on that job description, employee description. Questions, if not, bring them up if there are. The next thing we want to do, and I'm a big fan of what's winning look like. I feel that many businesses and owners have kind of here are your goals. I like the term winning. What does winning look like? And then set those milestones before hiring. We see instances where somebody's still struggling along at year 1 or year 2. And we say, if you set these goals in advance, you will not have this issue. So at 6 months, it might not be that they're still learning your business. We're not expecting a ton of sales, but by 6 months, they've scheduled 20 meetings that you attend to go help land the business. Their job is to get those meetings done. By month 12, they've landed this many accounts at this much revenue. And we always recommend a minimal acceptable performance number that you write down and a goal number or a milestone number. So it might be 20 meetings is the goal. 10 though is the minimal acceptable performance in that first 6 months. Because you need to start having some very honest conversations of what's going on if they're not getting to that minimal acceptable performance line. And then a 3-year vision for them of what the earnings would look like. So if they hit those goals at 6 months, at 12 months, and then at 3 years, here's what your total comp is. We want to paint the picture. It's got to be a realistic picture, but we want to paint a picture for somebody that, man, they can make, 60,000, 80,000, 100,000, 150,000, depending on what your role is, if they do the work and they follow through over those 3 years. Because if we only paint that picture and not the shorter detailed picture, they might fall in love with the 3-year vision. We want to make sure they see what the 6 months and the 12 months and what the job description entails and the people they're exactly going to be contacting and calling and what roles they're going to look like. This whole picture helps you recruit people. It'll also help people refer people to you. And then we want to make sure we have a very detailed 120-day onboarding plan. So especially the first 2 weeks. So I'm going to show you some stuff there. Again, feel free to ask questions anytime. The goal we're trying to get through, and I hope this shows up big enough on your screen, but this is the 5 stages of confidence. Regardless if this is sales or this is anyone you're hiring in your company, you always hire people that are very positive. You're thinking they're going to do a great job. They believe they're going to do a good job. But since they're new, whether they're brand new out of school or they're new because they're switching from an advisory company to a State Farm company, they're going to work that first 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, realize there's a whole nother set of acronyms. There's a whole nother set of people. I don't know where everything is even in my office yet. We need to get people through this confidence stage as fast as possible. It's important for us to move people through there through having weekly 120-day onboarding plan, but weekly measurements, weekly conversations, weekly coaching. Because what we don't want to have, and what does happen often, is that we don't have that good, robust onboarding plan, whether it's sales or any other role. Sometimes it gets to the point of, did I choose the right job? And the owners or the leaders thinking, did I choose the right employee? And that's when this turnover zone can happen, or they kind of stagnate at this. They're an okay employee. They're not a great employee. This onboarding gets you through this very quickly and gets it up to excelling and mastery, which everyone will be loving it and everyone will be winning. And my whole thing is about helping people win. When it comes to the interview process, one of the things that we want to figure out if we're going to try to get somebody that is already in the space is not necessarily somebody that's in your direct competitor space, because they have the habits of the other competitor, and you also might have a non-compete issue. However, if State Farm, you're selling into small business owners, who else is selling into small business owners? It might be a local newspaper ad salesperson. It might be a copier salesperson. It might be a different salesperson that sells into those things. We have a lot of customers who sell into facilities managers, and there's a whole group of people that sell into facilities managers, the HVAC people, the plumbers, the electricians, the uniform supply companies. They all sell into exactly the same person. So once you really understand who your ideal clients are, and you saying, hey, my goal is to get into these 100 clients. Did somebody have a question? Okay. But if you knew, here's the 100 clients I want them to sell into, or 100 small businesses I want to sell into, it is really a lot easier for you to teach them your products and services, because you know it so well, than teach them relationships with 50 or 75 of those people. So if you can figure out who are the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other industries that sell into your same person, and the best way is to ask your top 10 clients, what other salespeople or relationships do you have that are not insurance or not advisory that tend to call on you? And you see them once a quarter, once every 6 months, once a year. Then go call on those people to be your next salesperson, because they already have all the relationships. You can spend the first month teaching them your products and services, and you can go with them for the next 60 days after that to make sure they understand your products and services really well. But they're getting you inside the door to the decision maker because they've had a past relationship with the decision maker. By far with this, and then sending out the job description and employee description to a bunch of your peers in the community, drives referrals and people that are currently in a great job, but they're looking to move up to the next legs. Maybe they're in that linen supply job and they're making $42,000, and your job can offer them $65,000. and they're going to sell into the same relationships, this is by far the most successful way that we found to hire good salespeople. Again, they have the relationships that you need. You train them on the products and services. So that's how we recommend targeting prospects to hire. Again, speak up if you have any questions. Placing ads on job sites, pick your favorite ones, whatever those are. I'm not picky on those. We want to have a very set process for screening resumes, and it really all starts with this phone screen. If you have, I recommend a managing person not to do the phone screen, someone else in the company that's not emotionally invested. Often the hiring manager or leader that's going to hire this person, if they're feeling a little bit desperate or they're feeling a little bit, or they fall in love easily with good salespeople, they'll let some things slide. But there's some things you don't want to let slide. If one of your deals is you work evenings and weekends because it's just the role of your business, or you have to lift 50 pounds because you have a toolbox you have to go around, or you have to travel, in your car 3 days a week to distant things. Those are very simple yes/no questions that people can be able to answer on a phone interview. That they say, hey, no, I can't travel and I can't lift 50 pounds. There's no need for that person to move up to you for an interview. Don't waste anyone's time. They have disqualified themselves on the phone interview. You also can grab some great interview insights on, were they on time to the phone? Did they come across as organized? Did they ask some smart questions? And then yes or no, did they get over the 3 to 5 key criteria that you needed? Because if they didn't, again, we don't want to waste time. I've seen too many people, the salesperson comes in, they really say they're a great salesperson, and everyone falls in love with them because salespeople are good in interviews. But then 2 months in, they're like, well, I really can't go driving 3 days a week. I really can't lift that toolbox in and out of my car. Well, now you just wasted 3 months with that salesperson. So we want to make sure that we do that. Going back to you, Bill, that first one is all about company fit and culture. Do you want them to be an employee? Be with your employees. Do they feel good hanging out? The whole first one is your core values, culture. Do they mix well with you and your team when you're interviewing that one? Second one is for interviews for real world success. We'll go a little deeper into this, but we want detailed explanation of real world examples of how they've been successful in their job and be able to explain it very detailed. I will show you, we use a tool for sales teams called an APQ. It's very, very helpful. And then I recommend 3 total interviews for any salesperson. The last one, it's an interview with a social setting. So breakfast meeting, lunch meeting, 4 p.m. meeting, whatever's common in your industry. We want to see how they react in a social setting. They might often be out in a social setting when it comes to sales. And it's important for people to understand what they're like in that session. I'd bring multiple members of your team. You have a trusted advisor, a great client, a great vendor, bring them with that. So see how this person's going to react having 4, 5, 6 people around them. You'll learn a lot in a social setting on that final interview. So that's our interview process, is the phone screen. That's very quick. First interview, company fit. Second interview, success, like how successful they've been. Show you what an APQ. APQ is an assessment tool I wish I would have had a long time ago, but it breaks down all the different roles of sales and all the different drivers of salespeople. And it breaks it down into a whole bunch of different roles, from outside sales, long cycle, to quick sale, to account manager, to farmer, to inside sales. And it'll show up and allow you to ask some really smart questions, and then also give you tools on how to coach. Not going to go into a lot of depth about this APQ assessment tool, but I found it to be exceptionally helpful in understanding and driving better questions when I interview people. And overall, it's driven a lot better success in the hiring process, the APQ assessment tool. These are some of the key questions I learned. This one, a lot of people don't believe, but it seems to be true. The more I've been on it, is everyone has a salary cap based in their head. The question I love to ask people is, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you got this on your W-2, and you just say, man, I made it. I made it. And if people are going to say anything, I've had people say $80,000 if they were making $80,000 in sales, they've made it. And I've had people say $2.5 million and everywhere other in between. And the key is you need the salary cap, whatever they say for they made it, to be within about 20 to 25% of your total comp of a really good salesperson. So let me give you a story on that. I have a client here in Omaha that has been very, very frustrated with an existing set of salespeople. He expects them to make $250,000 to $350,000. They're all at 120 to 150. When I asked them individually, when I got to meet each of their sales team, what is that number for you? Almost all of them said, oh, 170, 180 was how much they would love to make. People tend to fall about 20% short of that number and then stop driving to get more sales because they have the car they want. They live in the neighborhood they want. They take the vacation that they want. They cap themselves out mentally of where they want to be. So he had a good team, but not a good team for the people that wanted to drive the results he wanted to have. The other issue on the other end is if they say, I want to make $400,000 and you know that a top position in your role can only make $80,000 to $120,000, they might be good for a year or two, but they're probably pretty driven that they're going to move on from your business pretty quickly. And you just have to be aware of that. So asking them what their salary cap is, you don't say it that way, but just what's in a W-2, they'd be like, wow, I made it. That's incredible. What a great year. That's how we do that on the salary cap. Lots of people have believed they've been in sales before, but sales is a large spectrum from retail sales where people walk in the door to inbound sales where phone calls are coming in and they're answering some questions like Omaha Steaks. That's sales. You might try to upsell them something, but you're doing zero outbound drive your own business. Completely different business model. So even if they said they love sales, they've been in sales, we really need to understand from their past 2 or 3 jobs, has it always been inbound versus outbound, and then know what your expectations are for year in that job description. Yours 100% outbound. If somebody's been 100% inbound, totally different game. You really have to do a lot of probing on who's doing what. Who generates the leads? Are you generating leads for them? By the way, for your first 120 days, I'd recommend having 100 leads pre-generated where you do the work. And so you can point them at these leads. Hopefully it's warm leads or referrals or past clients. But we want to give them a little layup to start that. But who's going to be ongoing generating leads? Lead generation is challenging. There's some great tools. My webinar next week is how to use some really cool online tools to generate leads very quickly, or at least get to the right person very quickly and do that. And then we understand of their process / organization. So Matt, who's on the call with me here today, he's got a very good one about, tell me about your last client that you brought on board to your company. And people will start saying, well, I brought him on board to do this. No. Go all the way back before you even knew who this client was. How did you get a hold of him? How did you prospect him? What kind of hurdles did you have to go through? Talk to me about exactly that last client and see what kind of process they went through. Or were these more fall in the lap kind of clients? Because again, sometimes they'll say, no, I went out and hunted. But what you're really actually happening is the company is doing so well at generating referrals and warm leads that they really didn't do any hunting. And you need to make sure you understand what their background has been on that, whether it's last client. And the one thing I ask, and people always say they're very processed and organized, I go, great, pull up, 4 weeks ago and 8 weeks ago on your phone, and let's go through every meeting you had on your phone that week, because everyone's carrying their calendar with them. And show me all the different meetings you had, because if you were organized and doing a good job, you had 3, 4, 5 prospect meetings in your past role. You had 2 or 3 follow-up growth meetings with current clients in your past role during that week. They get really nervous about sharing their calendar, and they can't be very specific about how they brought on that last client. They might not have the processes that you need for them to continuously land sales. They might have been in a business that just grew through referrals and it was doing a great job, and they got business that way versus actually having to fight and get business. And then finally, I'd recommend, there's a book called Who by Jeffrey Smart. And this is not just for sales, this is for every role. It is, did they get pushed out of their last job or did they get pulled along for their last job? Some people might have had 5 jobs in 3 years. And a lot of us, older, we'd be like, oh, that's terrible. It's not a good person. But here's the deal. If job number 1, they were entry level and their manager moved to job 2 and then called them up and said, hey, you need to come over here to job 2. And then somebody noticed them at job 2 and went on to another job and they're like, hey, you need to come over here. And they just kept going up in pay and getting pulled along because they're talented. Versus, oh, I was at that job and I was at blank company and they had a layoff. And you're like, oh, that's too bad. Well, how many people were laid off? Oh, 10. How many were in your division? 100. Why'd they lay off you? What were your numbers? Where were you at in competitive? And if that's a common thing, that whether it was a layoff or it was a poor fit, 4 out of those last 5 jobs, they're probably not very good at their job. So that differential, if they're being pulled along, it's great. If they're getting constantly pushed out, that's a bad sign. So by the way, that's true for all jobs. It's not just true for sales. Onboarding, something most companies do not take enough time to think about in our experience. But the first 2 weeks, please do not have any salespeople sell anything. People want to get out and sell to their brother, their aunt, their last customer. They want to do some part of sales, but they go out and they going down that confidence chart. They don't know what they're talking about yet. So we don't want to allow them to sell when they don't know what they're talking about. So we want them to spend time in all departments, understand the company, learn the products and services, ride along with you guys. Make sure they just get to sit and watch and listen and learn and have that great experience so they can at least answer the first 2 or 3 questions a sales prospect answers in a smart way. This becomes the face of your company. You don't want all those first impressions, especially in a smaller community like the greater Omaha area, to be bad impressions. So take your time on this. If it's a harder learn, go 4 weeks, 6 weeks and not allow them to do any sales. Get your sales training and coaching. We really recommend, it's going to take 2 to 3 hours per week of training and coaching and mentoring for those first 120 days to get somebody really up to where you need them to be. Next 2 weeks, if you have some nice warm leads, you can go along with them, some past customers you think might be ripe to come back on ball, or some small prospects to go after. Great idea. Let them fail on some small prospects that you're not too worried about. Don't let them go after your top 100 clients you want those first few weeks once they're comfortable going out. Next 90 days, we're keeping up the coaching. We really recommend an activity-based commission plan in the first 90 days after the training period. What we mean by that is they might not land sales yet for you, but if you're going to pay them $4,000 a month with a $2,000 commission structure, pay them $3,000 a month for the first 120, 190 days with up to $2,000 in activity-based commission a month, which would be things like get me 10 meetings in the second month based on this list of 100 that I will attend, and you'll get blank dollars per meeting, regardless if we close them. Make this many outbound phone calls. Go to this many different chamber events to do lunch and learns and stuff like that. Get embedded in the community, and through the activity, we can coach them up if they're doing the activity. Or anyone can coach them up if they're doing the activity. It's the people that say, I have no problem doing phone calls. I have no problem doing cold calls. I have no problem going to chamber events. But then when you ask them, did you get to the chamber event? Oh, I didn't quite get there. I quite didn't do that. So I like putting money behind it those first 3 months, that they'll get paid to go to the chamber event and grab 5 business cards and connect with people because they want to be commission based. We need them to start doing that activity. We need to start building them a confidence in activity. So we call it activity-based commission in those first beginning days of what we want them to do. Start building out that top funnel and so on. So hope that makes sense as a way to get people to make sure they're doing all the activity you want right away after they learn the basics of your business. Man. So this is going to be a question and answer session, but I'm going to start with the 3 questions that every salesperson, I believe every leader, every business owner needs to know very precisely for social selling. In a social selling, people will ask questions. What do you do? How much does it cost? And why would I choose you over a competitor? This is also the scariest thing about cold calling, is if somebody actually answers the phone and says you have 5 minutes. So now what do you do? And how much does it cost? And why would I choose you over a competitor? And we have to have precise answers for this that make people say, I want to learn more, and they want to set up the next meeting with you to learn more. But we watch people stumble over these all the time, and it takes time and practice to get these right. So make sure for every employee of your companies, if they can answer these 3 questions, what do you do? How much does it cost? And why would I choose you over a competitor? You can get those down in social settings. Not only will your salespeople sell, but all of your employees will sell, because they'll have a better answer for, I work at an insurance company, I work at the chamber, I work whatever, versus we help small businesses grow in the Sarpy County or in the Bellevue community. Oh, that's interesting. How much does it cost? Actually, the value proposition has been incredible for chamber members, because they end up way overdoing their fee structure. And why? Oh, if it's over a competitor, you'd have to come up with that answer. I don't have that one on the fly. But we'll want to have those kind of answers that are interesting and intriguing, and ask people, man, I should learn more about the chamber, or learn more about the advisory group, or learn more about the insurance of what they do. Is a very powerful thing to do. So those are 3 questions I'm posing to you guys for something to take away and learn. But I'll open it up to questions, and then I'll go to some tips and tricks at the end for this webinar. So what questions do people have based on what I said?
John, do you find that it's more effective to limit your commentary initially with someone to like 2 questions or two sentences along the lines of, they ask what I do. I solve problems and remove stress from people.
Good.
What's bothering you?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, keep it simple and short. If you can paint a picture, I love the one gentleman, he's in the landscape business. So he mows lawns for a living, right? And trims trees, that's his business. And I watched him go through this, and his answer then became, instead of saying I mow lawns for a living, and everyone knows people that mows lawns for a living, he said, you ever pull into like a country club and everything's perfect, the trees are perfect, the grass is perfect, the flowers are in bloom? Yeah, that's how I make you feel every day you pull into your driveway. Paints a different picture. So Bill, you can easily, and I like yours, I think it's good. You can paint a little bit bigger picture of, I take away the financial stress, or I take away, there's plenty of stressors in life. I make sure I take away the following ones for you, for my clients. Matt, did you have a question? Couldn't tell if you muted there or not.
Yeah, when you had given the titles, or the kind of the labelings of the salespeople, hunter, hybrid, and then farmer, do you normally have an experience where people move from one of those into another? Do you find people who work in a company farming eventually become a hybrid, or somebody who's a hybrid eventually becomes a hunter?
Absolutely. I had some young, not experienced salespeople come in as farmers. We call them account specialists in my company. And a couple of them moved up to kind of the mid-level hybrid, where we had them hunt small logos, we call them smaller, onboarding clients. They didn't go after whales. We had one lady who did a fantastic job, moved all the way up to hunter as she built confidence, and screened through it took years to get her there, but she became fantastic at that. I see that a lot. I see a lot of people that are hired to believe that they're hunters. This is where you really need to make sure job description and comp. But what happens is they end up getting 3 accounts, 4 accounts. Maybe you handed them 5 accounts to begin with. So they had some, and they really fall into the account management. And I want to make sure comp structures, if you're bringing somebody on as a hunter, they might get residual income ongoing for their client base. But I always make it like, if you say you have to hit at least 5 new clients a quarter to earn your residual income. Now you think they should be able to get 10 new clients a quarter, but if they don't earn the 5, because you're hiring them as a hunter, not as a farmer. And so you just gotta want to be really clear on that, or have a comp structure where they get 1 year's worth of residuals, but it goes 100% away after a year if they're a pure hunter. For semi-hunt, like my bigger hunters, I had them go, it doesn't matter on industry, but mine was 12% of gross margin the first 6 months of a new client. They got 6% of the gross margin the next 6 months. They got 3% for the next year, and then they got none from that client. So they got some residual income, but if they weren't hunting and loading that 12% bucket up every quarter, their pay was going down quite quickly. So they needed to always constantly be hunting, but they got very well comped on the hunt. So success-wise, I've seen people go from account management up towards hunter better than people that are hunters. If they're good at hunting, they never go down to account management, because hunting should always pay more. Yeah. Any other questions? Some just tips, tricks, take-home value. Try not to ask any hypotheticals. Ask specifics of tell me about your last exact client, or if you have specifics of, hey, you're meeting with the husband or the wife, but not both of them at the same time. And the husband says, well, I need to talk to my wife, or the wife says, I need to talk to my husband. Tell me exactly what you would do right there. And see if they have an answer. Because you'll see if they've been comfortable overcoming objections or stalls. So whatever your 5 or 6 most common challenges are, have those as very specific and ask very specific hypotheticals. I mean, to have specific, not hypotheticals, specific answers. W-2 last 3 years. People that are comfortable with money, I'll give you a couple things here, have no problem sharing what they made. That is how salespeople on the hunter side of life, and really in the hybrid side of life, they're competitive. And the ones that are really competitive are like, I made 90, then I made 132, then I made 165, and I won the employee of the year or salesperson of the year. They will tell you exactly what they are with money because they're comfortable with money. Because money to them is a metric of a game. It's a scorecard. If they're unwilling to share any income, they're a little bit hesitant on money. Go to the next question. You don't see it on here, but tell me your last large purchase and how you went about this. If you're selling $1,000 item, where they're gonna have to ask the client for $1,000, and they say that their last big purchase was a $200 TV, that means for them parting $200 is a lot of money. Therefore, they'll be a little bit more reluctant to ask somebody to part with $1,000. So you want to kind of make sure those are lined up, at least of whatever your dollar amount is. They're comfortable talking in those terms. And if they said on a TV that $200, that they spent 4 weeks researching it on Amazon and Best Buy and Nebraska Furniture Mart before they pulled the trigger to purchase, you also know they have a slow decision cycle. Versus I went to the Furniture Mart, I looked at 4 and I picked one. If you aren't in the business where you want a 6-month decision cycle, you want somebody with a relatively quick decision cycle themselves. They'll match up to what you want. always ask, where did they rank in past jobs? They're like, oh, it's great. I grew sales by 30%. Great. How many salespeople were there? 10. What was the average person? What were the top? Because 30% sounds fantastic until you find out everyone grew by 250%. So where do they rank in their past job success if they had multiple salespeople? Or how, and if they didn't have multiple salespeople, well, how much did the company grow? Oh, we had a huge year. We doubled. Okay, so you doubled, but you gained 30%. Just understand where they are. And then any documentation that they can show you, if they've won an awards, trophies, presidents, things that's somewhere on their resume, you have a picture of it. Can you show it to me? Can you show me your process? Force them to show you the processes of what they did or the awards they received or their calendar. You will make sure you'll find out and weed out the people that are not going to be good at sales quite early in the process if you do those kind of things. So some tips and tricks on the way of how to understand what their decision making is on money. Because if you can line up their salary cap with the processes, with how comfortable they are talking about money and going forward and building relationships, you'll have a way greater success at hiring salespeople and bringing them on board. Any final thoughts from anyone? And then I'm going to using technology. If you have a phone with a QR code, I think, and you're using Microsoft, you can just scan that. I'd love to have survey and feedback, or I will send out an email link if you could fill that. Our goal is to offer value to the chamber and their members, and anything I can always do better. I'm always looking to improve myself and our business. So I'd love any final thoughts or comments or value, and then we will get an email out to you and for a survey. But any thoughts, comments?
John, this is some good stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming up with the example questions that you actually would use. For example, the no hypotheticals, the tell me about the process. Can you show me your calendar from 3 weeks ago, 3 months ago? So the specifics of somebody who can talk but not necessarily walk the talk. I think it's good tips there.
Good. Well, I appreciate. Go ahead.
Is this presentation shareable as in our chamber membership, or would you prefer they reach out to you one-on-one? Or
Yeah, have them reach out to me and I'll actually send them some different PDFs that might be actually more useful for them. Actually, we have some tools that we can send people that'll help them do that.
Okay, confirmed. I want to share some highlights for our news update that goes out weekly. And so I don't know if you can send me some things that I can just pick and choose. Yep. Some points. Okay, great. Thank you.
John, will these slides be available to us as well?
Yeah, let me make sure if there's anything I think I should be able to do those to you. So I'll get it put together in a PDF and get it off to you guys. I'll send it to Eileen. Eileen, you can forward it.
Yes, I'll forward it. I'll take care of that.
Wonderful. Good.
Thank you. I would like them as well.
Great.
I'm a Southern boy. I kind of write as slowly as I talk, and I think I missed a couple of things there off of the slides.
No problem. No problem at all. I think that's my email. If you want, somebody want to, you can see it there, right? If you want to do that, that'll be great. By the way, next week it's a 3-part series that we're doing on these webinars. Next week there's some amazing tools that are capable of pulling contacts and leads at pace. If you know who your ideal customers are. So I'm going to show some of those tools that you can use to get amazing detail. It's a little bit creepy cool, as my brother would say. He's in the data information world, but where you can grab people's emails and phone numbers and learn a lot about somebody very, very quickly and rapidly. So we're doing the same time, same channel next week. And the week after that is if you're a Microsoft 365 or you're looking to move to Microsoft 365, as a super powerful platform that people don't use much of, and we're helping people unlock the potential of that with some really cool tips and tricks. So one of my clients is actually does that business. It'll be me running it for him, but it's a nice service. So next 3 weeks in a row, we have some nice seminars. No other questions. I'll let you guys get off for lunch.
Look forward to next week. Thanks.
Looking forward to
you,
next
John.
week, too, John. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.